heritage and looking aspirations. From here on, we are going to dive into the sessions part of the day. Setting the platform for today, our panel discussion focuses on avenues of private sector participation in tourism development, a theme that reflects the evolving priorities and possibilities within the ecosystem of tourism. For the speakers of this panel, we have a senior official with distinguished record of public service, serving as the Special Secretary to Government of Tamil Nadu, Department of Finance, and Chief Executive Officer of Tamil Nadu Infrastructure Development Board. Please put your hands together in welcoming Tirumati Pooja Kulkarni IAS onto the dais. For our next speaker, we have an experienced industry representative with proven leadership qualities and is the CEO of GRT Hotels and Resorts. We welcome Thiru Vikram Kota onto the dais. To lead the dialogue of this panel, we have a senior leader bringing valuable perspective to today's discussion, and I request Mr. Amit Kumar, Partner of Infrastructure of Grant Thornton, the moderator of this panel, onto the dais. Please give a round of applause for Mr. Amit Kumar.
Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome the two senior panelists here who have a lot of experience in the tourism sector, in the industrial infrastructure sector, and those who have done a lot of work for the state of Tamil Nadu. Now, just to give you a brief as to what we are going to discuss, as he mentioned, that we are looking for private sector participation in the tourism industry PPP model, which has been quite a successful model here in Tamil Nadu. And now, not only the state, even the center also has focused a lot of attention on the tourism. Yesterday's budget by the Honorable Finance Minister mentioned that, East, South is the focus now. They have mentioned certain corridors on which, this tourism industry is going to flourish. Also, medical tourism, which has been, and I was talking before the session to Ms. Pooja, and she was mentioning that we are already there. Like, Chennai and Madurai have been doing a lot of work on the medical tourism. So, a lot of focus from the central government side and obviously from the state government is there. And today in this session, we are going to discuss as to how this can flourish more. What can be done more? What has been done till now? And how this has happened and how this has benefited and the benefit of the society and the public. Just to start with, how many tourists have come? And this is quite a staggering number. In 2022, tourist arrivals was just 0.14 million, which has grown to 1.17 million next year. Domestic tourist arrival, something like 218 million, which has gone to 286 million. So, stupendous growth in the tourist arrival, and that's why we have to create more and more infrastructure and the facilities for the tourists who are coming to the state. On the PPP model, state, it's not that something which is new. I mean, we are going to discuss more deep down into it, but just few examples. Floating restaurant bar boar project at Mutukadu with integrated O&M for 10 years on revenue sharing basis. Amusement park at Lake Park, Ooty, and amusement park at Boathouse, Ooty, franchised for 6 years on annual lease rent. Open air fast food counter, amusement park at Kanyakumari. It was leased on PPP mode with gross revenue sharing of 22%. So there is some innovativeness also. It's not just pure PPP, but there is innovativeness on lease model and otherwise. And development of a glow garden at Mamallapuram on PPP model. There are many, and we'll hear more from these officials and experts. Now, what we want to achieve out of this session, we will first examine the evolving role of private sector in the tourism development, and we have GRT and of course Ms. Pooja, and highlight PPP as a catalyst for infrastructure creation and destination competitiveness. And third, policy and the institutional measures which have been taken and are necessary to make this happen. With this, I will start first with Ms. Pooja. As CEO of TNIBD, ma'am, you have pioneered PPP structures for large-scale infrastructure in the state. What are the key lessons from your work in the sectors like power and transport which can guide the effective private sector entry into the tourism?
Uh, Good afternoon to all of you. Tourism as a sector itself, we are all aware of the vast potential it has. But so far, we have only scratched the surface where it comes to real private participation in the sense of a PPP. The private sector is already there in a very large scale in tourism itself. I mean, the entire hospitality industry is essentially private led. So, in that sense, the private sector leads tourism. But where it comes to engaging with the private sector proactively by the government in structuring PPP projects, it's something that we are starting anew. TTDC, they have their own properties which they had sort of been leasing out, but it would not really strictly fit within the definition of a PPP project, right? So, over the last now 2 to 3 years, we have started exploring PPPs in various avenues within tourism itself. So, some of the projects which you mentioned, which is the Glow Garden, then the floating restaurant, then some amenities at Kanyakumari. We've also just finalized PPPs in projection mapping, what we colloquially know as a sound and light show, at the Madurai Tirumala Naikar Mahal, and then also at the Ooty Lake and the Yerkad Lake. So these are some of the examples that we have actually successfully finalized and are running. So the whole structuring or modeling of a PPP project is primarily risk sharing between the two partners. So each partner who is best able to deliver those particular facilities or services and then manage the risk that they are best able to. So in terms of then investments, who is more capable, in terms of operations and management, who is more capable, that is how the risks and responsibilities are distributed between the government, the authority and the PPP partner. So if I can elaborate, for example, if you take this projection mapping thing, it has been done in many places across the country. There are very popular projection mapping shows going on, say at the Port Blair Cellular Jail or the Red Fort and many other locations. However, the model has been very different. They have all been typically on what we call an EPC O&M kind of model, where the private sector partner is merely delivering some output. Whereas here, the private sector partner is engaged throughout the contract period. These are much longer contract periods. So they are for maybe 10 years or 15 years. The private sector partner has an opportunity to participate in the gains from the project. In a usual EPC O&M kind of simple contract, the private sector partner is simply paid on delivering certain goals. So you complete the installation, you're paid something. You do some O&M, you're paid some annual fee. Whereas here, the private partner, there is some investment coming from this side, not very large, maybe about 20 to 30% is how we have structured these. But then that gives the private partner a right into the revenues from the project. So the private sector partner has the opportunity to see upsides. The government also has an equal upside, and much of the initial risk is also being taken by the government because much of the initial investment is being borne by government. But then what drives the private sector partner is the continued engagement and we've already done in the other sectors is an outreach, is to understand from the private sector what is it that they are looking for, how do they look at risks. How we look at risk is very different from how the private sector look at risk. So our attempt has been to understand how the private sector looks at the same risk, and then we try and build in certain contractual clauses to mitigate and manage that same risk. So this is how we've been trying to develop more and more PPP projects. Apart from these that I mentioned, We've also launched bids for, again, TTDC properties for 4 camping sites at Javado Hills, at Kolli Hills, and Yelagiri and the like. So the private sector we would be very happy in welcoming the private sector to participate and develop these places.
Thank you so much. And flexibility is always welcome. And that's what the private sector likes. And good to know that, Tamil Nadu government is doing that. If I can come to Mr. Vikram, now that, it's not just Tamil Nadu, you have experience across South India, right? Various states you have been operating in. What has been your experience to develop the tourism infrastructure, particularly from Tamil Nadu side of it? But broadly, you can mention about other states as well. Hotels, tourist amenities, ecotourism, heritage, culture, all put together. What is your experience and what is your?
Yeah, thank you for that question, Amit, and good afternoon, the audience, and ma'am, good afternoon. I think, first of all, I think we should be very proud that Tamil Nadu's tourism assets are comparable to one of the best in the world. For example, if you take our 1,076 kilometers of coastline and the second longest beach in the world, are we taking advantage of that? What have we done? I mean, if you look at from Pulicat Lake up to Kanyakumari, we have, if you split it every 100, 120 kilometers, we have 8 zones. But the only zone which is actually getting traction is the Chennai Mamallapuram zone. And now we are seeing some traction Mamallapuram to Pondicherry. But other than that, we have not taken advantage. If you look at our temples, I think under HRNC we have 38,000 temples, but I believe there are more than 45,000 temples. And there are townships around the temples. Have we done anything about that? Has the government come in and call the private equity partners to participate, develop communities? Similarly, ecotourism. We have one of the best, the Western Ghats is supposed to be one of the top 8 hottest regions for ecotourism. But you see now, I mean, it's not a developed place yet. So coming to your question, yes, I mean, we have assets. We are here not to make hotels as real estate, but I think we should look at PPP models as destination making models. I think we should make destinations, and there should not be 2 parties in that is the government and the private party, but the third party should be the communities around it. So communities can't be bystanders. They have to be participants. And obviously the government gets the policy, the land aggregation, the predictability, the long tenure, the trunk services, and of course the private party gets in your design thinking, your operational excellence, the power of distribution worldwide. I mean, a small place like Singapore gets 19 million. I just heard you say 1.7 million. I think that's a shame for us as Tamil Nadu with such large tourism assets to have so few tourist arrivals. And ma'am was saying, I think most of those arrivals are medical tourist arrivals. So I think there's immense potential. I think the story never ends and the opportunity begins. I think it's a very apt thing for Tamil Nadu tourism, and I think we have to take advantage of that. And with officials like Pooja ma'am, and I think, what the industries minister said on stage, that we are taking the SIPCOT model. I think that's a very promising thing, and yesterday's union budget was also very promising, putting a lot more focus on tourism and the development of tourism assets.
Thank you so much. And you said community participation. That is the key. If the community participates, see, tourism is one of the best employment generation activity worldwide. There are economies. You said Singapore, even Thailand. Thailand's whole economy is dependent on the tourists. Whole economy. That's how they have designed it. If I can come back to you, ma'am, you have been there in guidance. And guidance is one of the most efficient organization known in the country. In fact, every state wants to become like a guidance. So based on your experience in guidance and particularly on the investment promotion, ease of doing business, that's what How can you dovetail that experience into the tourism sector? What are your plans for the investment and promotion?
So one thing is guidance is now actively getting into tourism promotion itself. So in the inaugural, we saw the number of MOUs that were exchanged. So a lot of it is primarily due to investment promotion, active investment promotion. So guidance now has an active tourism desk. Tourism itself has been classified as an industry, which is why the industries department, Vikram was mentioning, which is why the industries department is actively getting into tourism itself. So, SIPCOT, which is our industrial park developer, is also now getting into the business of acquiring or providing for land for tourism. Right, so it could be for various tourism facilities. There's of course hospitality, the amusement parks, adventure tourism. For all of those, we have identified various niche locations. Vikram was mentioning many of them around the Western Ghats on the beach side. So what we have done is to identify all government lands that are there in all of these potential places, and SIPCOT is tasked with alienating, or shall we say acquiring those lands, getting those lands transferred. And based on that, SIPCOT has published MOUs at all of these, for all of these EOIs, sorry, for all of these locations. So we have been reaching out, guidance and TNIDB, we have been reaching out to potential players for all of these destinations to see people can apply. It covers the entire gamut of activities, not just hotels and resorts. So it certain sites are more amenable for certain activities. So based on that, we have earmarked what that particular site is suitable for. So this is one critical way in which industries department itself is getting engaged in tourism. The other thing is guidance is also now actively doing facilitation for tourism projects. So in the same way that guidance has been facilitating investment projects, manufacturing or service sector, the regular service sector investment projects, tourism projects also are being facilitated by guidance. So investors can register with guidance, and then whatever are the approvals that are required, most of them are already available online. They are available on the single window. So the guidance team would be very happy to facilitate all the typical approvals that any tourism project requires. There are also certain ease of doing business initiatives that we are thinking of processing now. In many avenues, there is a lack of clarity on regulation. For example, adventure tourism. So who will certify those? Where does the operator get his approvals from? These are all gray areas, whether he gets them from the central government, whether they get them from state government. For homestays, for example, again, there's lack of clarity. So on all of these, we are working on bringing about a tourism facilitation act, and then guidelines and rules under that, so that we would be in a position to, one, bring clarity in regulation, and two, we would be in a position to facilitate all of those investments in a fairly streamlined manner.
Thank you so much for this. Vikram, if I can come to you. GRT is known for your sustainability promotion in your properties and also guest-centric luxury. If you have to promote ecotourism, what kind of PPP structures you foresee which should be there for promotion of ecotourism?
I think, first of all, all of us should understand that tourism is a economy multiplier. So like you were saying, I'll just give you exact statistics. 1 out of every 10 people in the world is working in tourism, hospitality or related thing. And when you put up a hotel, it gives rise to 4 or 5 other ancillary projects around, like your arts and crafts, like food, like street food people, entertainment, guides. So these are the indirect jobs which the hospitality and tourism generates. Coming to sustainability, I think first, I think we need to be fair to ourselves that we need to leave a better earth for our future generations, and all of us have to have that responsibility. Having said that, it cannot be just a cost, but it has to be an investment model where you get returns on sustainability when you have sustainable projects. And PPPs are the way to go because, as you know, in Tamil Nadu, I think we have some of the fantastic assets in Western Ghats, in tiger reserves, Anamalai, Mudumalai, Satyamangalam Forest, Valparai. See, these are the areas where a private party cannot go in and just acquire land and build hotels. We need government participation. We need community participation. And I think it's very important when government shakes hand with private parties and gives us guidelines on sustainability, how to develop sustainable products. And I think it's going to be the future focal point for Tamil Nadu tourism. And I think we can ride on sustainability, and people today, I mean, all my hotels, I've seen it firsthand. All our hotels today, I'm very sad to actually see a plastic bottle here. But having said that, there are, I mean, the statistics is that every minute 1 million plastic bottles are going into the ocean. And it's a very sad thing. So all our hotels, 24 hotels, we are 100% plastic free. We have glass bottling units in every of our hotels, and we are 100% smoke-free hotels. We are pet-friendly hotels. So the idea is that why I'm telling you this is not just a cost we are incurring. It's an investment, and we have raked in returns on this investment. Today, people look at our hotels as sustainable hotels, and they choose our hotels over non-sustainable hotels. And I think if Tamil Nadu tourism takes a leaf out of this, and we are able to make PPP projects on sustainable ecotourism projects, I think that's the way forward. And ma'am was mentioning about the camper van sites. And I think that's the future. I think you can still leave the place as it was or in a better way once you've used it, and not have the pollutants of what a hotel makes or a large resort makes, and still give the experience of not polluting the place, giving land for the camper sites so the camper vans can come in and plug in, and private parties can operate that. And I think there is immense potential for Tamil Nadu to do that. And I urge ma'am to actually look at this very seriously in the future. And we would, as private parties, we would love to work with you to do more camping sites all over Tamil Nadu. I think a lot of property owners are also here, and they'll agree with me that it's a potential for Tamil Nadu.
Very well said. Because, you know, this ecotourism is the perfect example where the PPP is the way to go. The government as the owner of that kind of a property, of that kind of a site, will have to promote ecotourism. And in some cases, we have seen worldwide and also in India that it is not the return on investment which matters, right? And that's why, you know, the both private and the government will have to take a leap. I know because we will have some time for the questions to be raised, because since you are here and everybody would like to take the advantage of that.
And I just want to add one more thing.
Please.
Our beach, the 1,000 kilometers of beach, is after all ecotourism and sustainable tourism. And we need to take advantage of that, which we have
beaches,
not.
everywhere.
Yes.
Yeah, everywhere. Now, from the Tamil Nadu government's ambitions, ma'am, how can the government entities like TNIBD collaborate with private players? What are some innovative models or ideas which you have in mind? Although we discussed few of them, and you mentioned that some of the projects are coming, including camping sites. Any innovative financing model or the PPP model which you are thinking can make a difference?
I already mentioned quite a few. One of the innovative things that we did was this projection mapping. But apart from that, in the areas which SIPCOT has launched the expressions of interest, apart from that, Vikram mentioned camping sites. So we have established on the forest side, we've established a corporation called the Tamil Nadu Wilderness Experiences Corporation, Its first initiative has been to run a lot of trekking routes, and they have become fairly popular. So we would be quite happy for the private sector, especially on the camping site, to because you are the people more in tune with what sites are more feasible for setting up camping or caravan sites and all and the like. And we would be quite happy for the private sector to reach out to us and indicate to us that these would be the good locations. From our side, what we can do is to try and acquire that land, or if it is government land, to provide it directly, and then whatever other facilitation is required. So this kind of feedback, that loop that needs to get going between the private sector and TNIDB and the TTDC, that is something that we've started. We've reached out. What I would like to do is to use this forum to ask investors to reach out to us and give us those ideas, so that then we can do what needs to be done from the government side. That is one thing. Second, you were mentioning biodiversity. How do you go about? Vikram rightly mentioned we have one of the best biodiversity hotspots in the Nilgiris itself. And he also mentioned it's very difficult for the private sector to go and get land there. In the list of SIPCOT's EOIs which we have launched, there are parcels in Valpare, in the Nilgiris, very close. One parcel is very close to the Mudumalai Tiger Reserve in Erode district. There are very good parcels in Tirunelveli district near Kutralam and the like. So all these parcels which are near biodiversity, in the biodiversity hotspot, those parcels, we have published them for participation. The clearances we would of course be facilitating. What this will also do is, again, like the two of you have mentioned, the way that we are looking at it is in terms of community engagement, whether in terms of cultural experiences, culinary experiences, and providing them, of course, employment skilling. What is critical to all of this is skilling. So again, through the tourism department, we are looking at using some of our existing institutions to provide some very specific skill-based training, not just to the people who are going to be, say, guides and the like, but also to other stakeholders, the transport operators, the shopkeepers, in all of those areas, to see how to impress upon them how they should engage with tourists to provide the tourists a far better experience. So these are some of the initiatives that we are taking, again, in coordination with the private sector.
Thank you so much. Just last question from you, Vikram. Private sector is quite gung-ho on technology nowadays. AI, cloud, everything is being talked about. How do you see private sector, implementing technology and the innovation which makes this whole PPP ecosystem successful?
I think yesterday's budget, if all of you must have heard the union budget, I think a lot of emphasis was on AI. In fact, they're giving it almost an infrastructure status, AI. And I think that's the way forward. And India has always been a country which embraces technology much before and adopts it much before anywhere in the world, like your UPI system. So similarly, also in tourism, technology is going to be an enabler in the future. Be it ticketing, or be it the maps, be it trails, be it sustainable scorecards for each. So technology is going to play a lot more, a bigger role in innovative systems, in making your PPPs larger and more profitable for the state as well as for the private players. As private players, what we are seeking from a PPP is first is the clarity. I think what we need is clarity. Second is we need predictability. And third is we'll need a long tenure, 20 to 30 years. So like ma'am was saying, TTDC, 10 years, they're giving us 15 years, we put in money. And you say it's a sustainable property. Sustainable property has more investment. So I think all these things have to be taken together. And I think technology can also play a role in binding all these things together.
Yeah, AI, automation, data center, everything. This entire ecosystem is going to be developed in the next 3-4 years in India as well. Lastly, if I can come to you, ma'am, what metrics do you feel that is required to judge whether a particular PPP project or PPP ecosystem is successful?
See, the critical thing in any PPP project is how you structure the project. Okay, how and this differs greatly between, say, a very typical core capex intensive core infrastructure project like maybe a highway or maybe an airport or an energy sector project. Each of these projects, they take in investments of 6 to 8,000, 10,000 crores. That's the scale of investment that the private sector has to bring in. So there the focus is a little different. How we structure it is different. In tourism, the scale of investment is much lower. What is critical in tourism is the experience. So the way we look at it and the way we would measure the success of a PPP project in tourism would fundamentally be one, whether it has led to a better tourist experience, which would this is what would be as a part of the contract itself. There would be certain KPIs which are very specific, experience related, service delivery related, whether it has led to actual growth in tourist arrivals, whether the private sector has actually earned the returns that we think are reasonable for that sector, and what is it that government has gained out of it. Ultimately, for government, the most critical thing in tourism, one is that it is an employment generator, no doubts about it. So a successful PPP project is one which has increased tourist arrivals. It has led to a lot of employment generation in the area. It has delivered good returns to the private sector, and it has created a very good experience for the tourist. So these would be the clear metrics by which we would judge a tourism sector PPP as against maybe a core infrastructure PPP.
Very well said. And people also say that repeat tourist is something that they experienced it much better and they want to come back again and again. With this, no more questions from our side. Now I open the house for discussion. If you have, we can take 1 or 2 questions. If somebody wants to raise the hand, please identify yourself and then ask the question. Yeah. If
my name is Dr. Prasad David. I just want to ask one question. See, number of our hill stations, for example, Nilgiris, Kodaikanal, there's a man-animal conflict. In Kodaikanal, for example, you get all the bisons coming into town. And is there any way, that we can prevent it, putting fence, things like that? Anything that government can help? Or what can we do to contain the animals away from the city? Thank you.
I'll come on it. I think, first of all, we are invading the animal space. So I think we have to be cognizant of that, ma'am.
I suppose that is really an outcome of excess arrivals. Vikram mentioned we have encroached on their space. It's true. So probably from the government side, one critical initiative would be to develop alternate locations which provide similar kind of experiences, different experiences, niche experiences that people are looking for in places like Ooty and Kodaikanal. I mean, why do so many people keep going to Ooty and Kodaikanal? It's because we haven't really developed many more alternative locations or destinations. There's been a lot of regulatory interventions now. For example, in the peak season, there is a limit on how many vehicles can now go up to Ooty. So these kind of regulatory interventions have also come in. Shall I say, the illegal resorts that have been set up within the elephant corridor, those have been sealed. So these are some of the regulatory interventions that we've taken up. But really the most important intervention would simply be to develop alternate locations so that people don't have to just keep going to Uti and Kodai all the time.
Correct. I think the lady raised the hand. Yeah, please.
Hi, good morning. Thank you so much for this session. I'm Sahasra. I'm a conservation architect. I work from Chennai and from Coimbatore. Firstly, I'd like to thank Pooja ma'am for saying that we have barely scratched the surface of tourism, and how Vikram sir said sustainability has to be the model. And thank you so much for showing how true it is through your establishments. So my question is, there are a lot of heritage hotels that are established across the state, and the core meaning of heritage is it has a layer of history. It's something existing that we are probably restoring or using. But do you think through public-private partnership, for example, in Chettinad, there's a lot of, off the top of my head, Chettinad has a lot of footfall in the last decade. Because of its architecture, because of the history that it holds, because of the settlements. So, but the heritage hotels in Chettinad, there are a lot of heritage structures that have been adopted by a private partner, privately owned group. But the affordability factor of that for someone like me who would visit Chettinad is almost impossible. So, do you think through public-private partnership, more affordable, a more approachable angle to heritage hotels could be possible? And I just have a few more things to add to that. I'll just finish that. So also coming to sustainability, one core thing that we're taught in conservation is that the most sustainable building is no building. Using an existing building restoring an existing heritage building that's there to show the true value of that place. For example, in Coimbatore, the Nadu type of construction is popular, and there are so many people, so many homeowners who.
My request would be if you can confine
Sure,
to
sure,
the
sure.
questions, please.
Sure. So,
What do you want to ask?
just the affordability and approachability of heritage structures to a regular traveler and not someone who can afford like five-figure plus stay. That's all.
Thank you for the question, because we are actually identifying government heritage properties. So what this will do, which we can again partner with the private sector, hospitality players who are specializing in operating heritage hotels. So we have identified a few, and we would be coming out with bids shortly, maybe immediately post the elections, because it would not be possible during the model code of conduct. What that would do is to remove the risk of investment, the initial capital that the private sector has to put in. Since the structure is already there, the kind of investment that the private sector has to come up with would be much lower. And then the operation. So I'm sure in that kind of a model, the private sector would be able to come up with a tariff structure that is far more affordable to everybody. In case of private properties, of course, the government does not interfere with the kind of pricing that they come up with. But when government itself comes up with its own structures, I'm sure that would lead to more affordable tariff models. And in terms of heritage, then we are talking not about just the heritage of structures, not just staying in a heritage hotel, but then we are also talking about the heritage of that place. So we are talking about its cultural heritage, we are talking about its culinary heritage. And then we would expect the private sector partner to provide those experiences also, so that then the local community is also able to participate in that whole experience. And that's how you would provide a better experience and in a sense better returns to the entire community.
Thank you. Just one more question, and lot many hands, but I think you raised it last time, so please. You can interact with these officials later on, but because of the paucity of time, and I've been warned by the organizers that only 5 minutes. Yeah, please.
Yeah, thank you for the opportunity. I'm Mithun. I'm from Kodaikanal, and we are working on carbon neutral tourism. Can you hear me? Yeah, so we are working on carbon neutral tourism, and I have a question like, where do we see ourselves in regenerative tourism, Tamil Nadu? Regenerative tourism. Where do we see ourselves in regenerative tourism?
Maybe you can explain it a
maybe
bit
you can
more as to
explain
what
that.
you're looking at.
I
What is the
understand
question?
what you're talking about. Regenerative tourism is a place where we go and we leave it a much better place when we come back. So I think that's the future of tourism anyway. So if you come to our hotels, I can only give you examples of our hotels. We practice regenerative tourism. We make every one of our guests plant a tree when they come in. So there are more trees. We also teach them water conservation, water recycling. We also teach them energy management and how we deal with our waste. So they take out a knowledge and they can apply it at their homes or at their workplaces. So this is the core concept of regenerative tourism. And the future is we urge people to, whenever they go to a resort or a location, that they should not spoil it or just leave it as it is, to make it a better place than it was before. And coming back to Kodaikanal and Ooty, I think these are overpopulation, over tourism places. And I think that is where the government will play a big role in PPPs, where they can unlock these wonderful areas we have in the Western Ghats to private players, so that the attention from these regular, usual places is turned away to newer places. So people get a better experience, and also we are conserving the environment.
In a way, it is good that you asked this question, because now many property owners are adopting energy management, energy efficiency, as he said. Many buildings are LEED certified buildings now, which essentially means that they have a benchmark and they do not want to consume more energy. Similarly, on water side, there is a recycled water which they are utilizing in their gardens and all, right? So all these things are being taken care of, but then to involve the tourist and the communities in the overall scheme of things is the next step. This is yet to be done at a large scale. Thank you so much. I know that many hands were raised, but I'm sorry because the organizers have said no, nothing more than this. So this was a very interesting session in the sense that we brought just two of them, one representative from the private sector and the ma'am herself, who articulated as to what is the thinking of PPP, how the private sector and the government can make it a vibrant tourism industry in the state of Tamil Nadu, and also various innovative models. The best thing I liked what she said: we are flexible. When they said that the government is flexible, means they want it to be a win-win situation in a true sense, and involving community for the benefit of tourists and the community. It is the best employment generation industry. If I can call it as an industry, it's the best employment generation industry, and that's where Tamil Nadu is heading for. Give them a round of applause, and thank you so much. Thank you so much.
We thank our esteemed panelists for their sharp insights and perspectives. We shall now proceed with the felicitation of our panel speakers. I request Mr. Amit Kumar, the moderator of panel, to kindly felicitate Tirumati Pooja Kulkarni IAS. With a big round of applause from the audience. Thank you. We once again request Mr. Amit Kumar to kindly felicitate Mr. Vikram Kota. We request a big round of applause once again. Thank you. May I now request Pooja ma'am to kindly felicitate Mr. Amit Kumar. We once again thank the panel speakers for their insights. We shall have a very short break of 3 to 5 minutes now, and I request the guests and other delegates to remain in the hall. We'll proceed with the next session very soon. Thank you. Thank you, ma'am.